Good afternoon, everybody. Dwayne DeFries here. I'm the Executive Director of the IRL Council and also the Indian River Lagoon National Estuary Program. And I just want to thank you for joining us for this training session that's going to be conducted by Storm Center Communications to showcase the GeoCollaborate platform. Before we begin, I just want to set up the training session. Most of you who are online have joined us previously with one of our instances in showcasing GeoCollaborate as a tool to communicate harmful algal bloom impacts on the Indian River Lagoon. This technology demonstration project has been funded through the Harmful Algal Bloom Innovation Technology Project Grant Program of Florida Department of Environmental Protection, and we want to thank DEP for that support. And in the fall, we'll be doing our third and last instance, so stay tuned for that. We'll be looking at a statewide showcase. We'll be looking at statewide data, so you can see what a dashboard would look like, at the state level. But during our past webinars, we've heard from a lot of you that you wanted to actually get into the program and do a training session as if you were a leader of a training session. This was not part of our contract agreement, but Dave Jones and Ellen Prager from Storm Center Communications, they were really excited to provide these opportunities. So we'll be doing a training session today and another one on Thursday this week to allow you all to get a deep dive into the actual workings as an instance leader. So let's go get to it. If you have questions, you can go ahead and post them in the chat. Ellen will be looking at those along the way. And I want to introduce Dave Jones, founder and CEO of Storm Center, and also Dr. Ellen Prager, the senior scientist at Storm Center. So Dave, it's all yours.
Actually, I'm gonna take it from here.
Oh, cool.
Thanks, Dwayne, and welcome everybody. We're so excited to have you here and to be able to tell you a little bit more about GeoCollaborate. And actually, we want to focus on just how easy it is to use. After years of development, it's now ready for operational use, and people are using it for wildfires in the transportation industry, training exercises in storm preparation and response. So this isn't a research project anymore, it's actual operations. And as Dwayne said, our project with an IRL has been really about how it can be used for HABs. But the truth is it can go way beyond the use of HABs, and we want to talk a little bit more about that today. Thanks, Dave, for changing that. In fact, over the weekend, Dave and I decided to just kind of play around with GeoCollaborate. We put this slide together where you can see the heat alerts in the colors, the red and the greens in the backdrop there. Those are heat alerts over the weekend. The little fire symbols are from satellite imagery, the potential fire spots, which is kind of a little bit terrifying when you look at it that way. We also put in there some live radar, and there's flood potential, stream potential from a model. So we were playing around with, just wanted to show you some very different kinds of data sets that we haven't shown in the past, to show all the different ways that GeoCollaborate could be used and sort of get you thinking in those sort of terms. For us, some of the things we've been thinking about are, it could be used to collaborate between researchers, share information for emergency management response, to coordinate between counties and agencies in extreme weather, and provide a significantly better way of how we brief the media. Again, GeoCollaborate is actually not hard to use. The key is to be able to identify trusted data sets, whether it's model results, sensor data, satellite imagery, it can be geolocated photos or videos. Then the easy part is actually to put that into GeoCollaborate, and we're going to show you that today. With Dave and I's expertise, I'm sort of a marine and earth science expert. Dave's a meteorologist by training, so he's got the climate change and atmospheric dynamics. We're actually able, we both are experts in communications. We can help customize GeoCollaborate for the look you might need and help you identify data sets that might fit your needs as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Dave so he can show you how to enter data and how to use the functions of GeoCollaborate. As Dwayne said, We're going to be watching the chat for questions along the way. Please don't wait to the end to put your questions in. As we start talking about how to use GeoCollaborate, particularly as a leader, don't hesitate, put those questions in the chat and we'll try and get to them right away. So Dave, take it away.
Thanks, Ellen, and I appreciate it. Just for everybody, I don't think Ellen mentioned, but she's Storm Center's chief scientist, and so Ellen's doing a lot of work with us, just connecting with researchers and agencies and things like that, so we can show the benefits of GeoCollaborate. And I just want to stress as well, whenever you think of a question, because this is the webinar format, we can't hear you if you want to talk. But just to put those questions in the chat whenever it comes to mind, and we'll certainly get to that. The first thing I'm going to do is give you an option. If you have two monitors that you can take advantage of, I'm going to put a link in the chat here in just a second that you can click on, and it will be the follower for GeoCollaborate. So you can follow if you want to. Put that window over on the second monitor, just so you can see things move around. And then I'm going to share my screen from the very beginning, just so you can see me open a, go to a particular instance, log in, turn on GeoCollaborate, and then start to add some data sets, because that's really what Ellen mentioned about it being easy to use. We've evolved GeoCollaborate over the last 12 years, and we've spent a lot of those years testing it in various environments, so it can be very easy to use and not really intimidating for anybody when you're trying to engage in briefings and all that stuff. So I'm going to put the link in the chat here, which is the link to follow live. And when you click on that, a map is going to open up, and that map is the follower for GeoCollaborate. So I'm also going to, since I was just sharing my PowerPoint slides, I'm going to stop sharing just for a moment, and I'm going to pull up my a web browser and go right to. I'm going to show you what I'm just going to close my web browser here. Whoops. I'm not going to leave the webinar, that's for sure. Don't want to do that. Okay, so I'm going to then open up a web browser and share that web browser. So it's just empty. And it looks like it's not empty, but I'm going to just retype an address in there.
Looks like KJ has her hand up here real quick. Well,
Okay.
Dave, while you're doing that, KJ.
Sure.
That was an accident. I'm sorry. Apologize.
No worries, no worries. It was a good filler. So one of the things while
worries.
Dave is figuring this out, one of the things I forgot to mention is one of the things that I like about GeoCollaborate is I am not a GIS expert. And over the weekend, I was just playing around with a bunch of data sets. So it's really designed for non-GIS experts. So that's why we kind of wanted to do this training to show you how easy it is to put the data sets in. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna type in here, and you should be seeing my screen. I'm just gonna type in that address that I sent to you. Now yours, the one that you clicked on, has follow at the end. I'm just gonna type in fs.geocollaborate.com, because in this webinar, we really want to just show you how you can be a leader and how you can add data sets in and share those data sets across any platform. So if you have a tablet or a phone or a second computer, you can put in that follow address as well. But when you type in just fs.geocollaborate.com, the FS stands for fire and smoke. This is one of the instances that we use with NOAA for their fire and smoke initiative. And it's sponsored by the JPSS program. That's the Joint Polar Satellite System. So you can see here, you have an option to go to leader, follower, or dashboard. I'm going to click on leader. And since I was just logged in, it would usually ask me for my username and password that you just enter in, and then you go to this step to get in. You come up to a web map, which is a standard web map. This is an Esri JavaScript map, and you can move around it just like you can any web map. But as soon as you turn GeoCollaborate on, then it asks me for my name. I'm going to type in Dave Jones, and I'm going to log in. It says who the last leader was. It was me. And so I'm going to take the lead, and I'm going to start a new session. So if you start a new session, it just reminds you and says, are you sure you want to start a new session? Because all the data layers in the previous session will be cleared out of this particular session. We can add them back in, and I'll show you how to do that. But I want to start from a blank page so you can see how it goes. So I'm going to say, okay. So now we are at a new session of GeoCollaborate. We have some options here. But if those of you who are following on another device or another window, once you turn GeoCollaborate on in the upper left-hand corner, then our maps are now synced. It's a synchronous collaboration session that you'll be watching. So for example, as I zoom out, your map will zoom out to match my map. If you're just watching on one screen and you're seeing my leader, that's okay, no problem, because this webinar is really about showing you how to add data sets. Now, you have another option as well. If you're following, you can change the base map that you're using. And the changing of the base map can be done independently of any other participant. So you just deploy the menu, this little arrow on the left-hand side, deploy that menu, click on base map, and you have these maps to choose from. I like the satellite base map because it makes things a little bit easier to see, but it depends on the data sets that you're accessing and going to be sharing. And it also allows for buildings and high resolution to show up as you get down into a particular area. So I'm here in the Annapolis area, in the Baltimore, Washington area. And if I just zoom down into Annapolis, you'll see how the data resolves. You can see the Chesapeake Bay Bridge there, and you can see some towns and things like that in Annapolis. If we want to zoom right down to the Naval Academy, you can see the Naval Academy and the data sets that resolve there. So just to show you, if you're following me and you don't have the satellite base map turned on, you just see kind of outlines and roads and things like that. Okay, so I'm going to back out here and show more of the country just so you can see what's going on. The first critical thing that's going on within GeoCollaborate for followers and leaders is that now, as a subject matter expert, I am leading this session, which means anybody else, it could be 2 people, it could be 5,000 people. If they connect to this URL and turn GeoCollaborate on, then they will be following you in real time. So it's a great way to connect disparate locations and particularly connect to people if they're not very good on the computer or browsing or looking for data. I'm going to show you how to add data and put it right in front of all the followers. So it's a great way to introduce people to new data sets you have or data products that you're looking to create to engage people immediately. They don't have to be GIS experts. They don't have to worry about that stuff. They just have to turn GeoCollaborate on. So when I deploy the menu, I'm going to close the base map thing there because I've selected my base map that I want. And I want to describe 2 different collaboration cache layers and collaboration session layers here. Collaboration cache layers are data sets that you can load in anytime you want, any time of the day or night, and you just kind of save them in this session, and they're always there. So I can turn those on. For example, if I want to turn on a GOES satellite image, I can just click it and turn it on. And now we have basically the satellite image is less than 10 minutes old. We have a satellite view from NOAA of the current situation in the visible channel. So it's really cool. You can see very cool things in this kind of satellite image. I'm not going to get off on a tangent, but you can see ship tracks. These are ship tracks in the low stratus clouds because there's moisture going on. And look at this swirl here. No, it's not a hurricane off of California. This is going on right now. It's just a cold pool of air that's swirling, and these are low stratus clouds. So it's a little low pressure system. You can see another swirl off the coast of Eureka. This is really fascinating stuff. And there's fog going into San Francisco Bay and some fog coming inland. So they have that's called the marine layer that's coming in. So I can turn on this satellite data very easily because I added it already in a folder called GOES-17, which is a geostationary satellite with NOAA. And I've added a couple satellite channels. I can turn that off, and then I can turn on GOES-17 fire enhanced image. So this is a specific channel that enhances when wildfires are happening. And so you can pick those out a little bit easier than just looking at a visible channel with maybe some smoke going on. So what I'd like to show you is the difference between collaboration cache layers. And just as this test, I'll turn on another data set here, which is the EPA Air Now air quality sensors. Okay, so this is again live data. It's coming from EPA this time. I just shared a satellite image coming from NOAA. Now this is coming from EPA. When Ellen and I described during the webinar that GeoCollaborate pulls in disparate data sets from trusted sources, this is exactly what we mean. You don't have to go specifically to EPA AirNow website to look at their AirNow data. You can pull it into GeoCollaborate, but it still hits the EPA website that you're going there and pulling data. So EPA actually gets a benefit out of people using GeoCollaborate because it goes to their servers to get that data. And so each one of these circles you can click on and see what the air quality is for this particular sensor. Now, I wanted to describe the collaboration session layers. When I clicked start a new session, that's the session that we're in. That's the one we're engaged in right now. So any data set that I turn on in the collaboration cache layers will start to show up in the collaboration session layers. So that way, if you have a ton of data sets saved in the collaboration cache layer area, you can see the ones that you're sharing just right now in the collaboration session layers. So you can turn data on and off two different ways within GeoCollaborate, one just for the session or one overall that you're stopping the sharing of that data across all platforms. So if I turn off the data set in the EPA Air Now in the collaboration session layer, it still goes off for everyone. But when we get to the dashboard, you'll see that the layer still appears because it's in the session layer. So that's really the big reveal with GeoCollaborate, and that is you can load as many data sets as you want. They have to be web services or KML files or CSV files, sources from that have an internet address. You can add into GeoCollaborate as long as it's shareable. It's created in a way in which you want that data to be shared. So web services work the best, web map tiles, KMLs, things like that. You don't want to put in, let's say, a 500 megabyte GeoTIFF. A GeoTIFF is a high resolution image. It has geographic navigation attached to it, but it doesn't chop up in web map tiles. The reason why we don't want to share GeoTIFFs or large image files or large files within GeoCollaborate is because we have to consider the lowest common denominator of who is collaborating, their device. And that device many times is a phone. So we don't want to put out a 500 megabyte data file into somebody's phone that might have a limited data plan. It's not a way to make friends. And so the way in which we get around that is by sharing web-friendly formats. So that brings me to adding a data layer. So, and I want to remind you too, please ask questions. If they come to you, say, well, you know, what about this or that? Please ask those as we go through this training session. So what I want to show you how to do is add a data layer to cache. And we have this capability if you decide to get GeoCollaborate, decide to deploy it so you can improve your data sharing and collaboration capabilities. It's not like Storm Center has to add all the data layers for you. We show you how to add those data layers, and you can go off and running to add your own on your by yourself. So there are data layer types to add, and you can see these data layer types. These will come into play when we add some data sets. We're going to do this 4 times, and I'll show you how to add some data layers. So the first one I'd like to add is sea surface temperature data. And so sea surface temperature data can come from a large variety of things, areas. It can come from NOAA, it can come from other locations. Now for sea surface temperature data, we actually acquire that from a location called Real Earth. Real Earth is an image processing and data processing app, if you will, located at the University of Wisconsin, Madison. And they have created all sorts of data sets that they bring in from NOAA in web map tile formats. So the first thing that I want to just show you is how a Real Earth data set can be added into GeoCollaborate. Okay, so once you click Real Earth, the search engine shows up. And if I, sorry about that. If I click search, the option comes up for product name, keyword, or nearest time. So I'm going to type in sea surface temperatures, and then I'm going to click search. No results found. Okay, so now I'm going to go to keyword and click SST and search. So now a data set comes up. What just happened is that this search engine went through University of Wisconsin's supercomputer and brought back all the data sets that they have that have the word SST in it. So I'm going to click that. I'm going to add that layer, and I'm going to give it a name. SST for sea surface temperature from NOAA. Or NESDIS is where it comes from. Okay, do I want to give this any transparency? I won't give it any transparency right now. And I'll choose an existing group. I have a whole bunch of folders here I could put this in, but I'm going to choose a new group. I'm going to call this training folder. And I'll put it in there. And then we can create a description for this. So we can just say NOAA SST from the SNPP satellite. That's the SUMI NPP satellite. So I'm going to add this layer into GeoCollaborate. It says it's been added successfully, and now I'm loading it in. So now what has come in is a sea surface temperature data set that is wherever it's not cloudy, you can see the data set. You can see where it's warm. You can see where it's cold. You can see that this is from one satellite as that comes in. And so if you zoom down into Louisiana, around the Gulf of Mexico, these are temperatures that are in the 90s. You can also click the legend box to see if there's any legend associated with this particular data set. There are legends associated with other sea surface temperature data sets. For this particular one, there is not. Okay, and so now I can zoom out and see what the sea surface temperatures look like from this one particular satellite. If I want to add, and we'll go with this data set, because at the end, I'll show you another sea surface temperature data set that we can load in that's really high resolution, that looks really cool. I want to search for, let's say we want to add ocean buoys to this image, so we can see what the temperatures are from ocean buoys. So now this is from satellite, and it's showing where it's not cloudy. That's where we're getting sea surface temperature returns. And I want to add a layer to cache, but I want to search for it on the web. So I'm just wondering, Ellen, if you can give me a thumbs up. Can you see my web browser? Is that
Yep.
searching?
see it.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Looks good.
So I'm going to type in NOAA buoy data NDBC is the National Data Buoy Center. Just some keywords that I want to put in here. So the National Data Buoy Center has a lot of links. There's real-time data, National Data Buoy Center here. I'm going to connect to their website. So this is their website showing all their buoys. And if you notice right down here, it says get observations by program as KML, or get observations by owner as KML. It really doesn't matter. I'll just do it by program. I'm going to right click on this, and I'm going to copy the link address. Okay. So I've copied that link address. I'm going to go back to GeoCollaborate. I'm going to add data to cache. I'm going to paste Control V, that KML file, that link in here. I'm going to tell it it's a KML file. I'm going to type in NOAA NDBC buoys. I'll just put real RT for real time. I'll choose an existing group. I'll choose down here and say training folder. I'll give a description. Real-time buoy data from NOAA NDBC. And I will add this link to GeoCollaborate. And as soon as I click OK, then we see all the buoy data come right in. So this is really a great opportunity to now go in and see how we can maybe validate some of this sea surface temperature data. For those of you that are following in real time on your other monitor, you'll see this load into your system in real time as well. And you notice that I clicked on this buoy, and we can see the real-time observations from it right now. Gives you the time. If you want to see more observations from this particular buoy, you just have to click on that link in the metadata, and it takes you to that buoy, and you can see all of their historical observations and go back and get a whole bunch of other data and things like that if you want to. Okay. So within GeoCollaborate, we now have the buoy data and other observations, and it gives you the name of that buoy or observation near the land. They look like lighthouses, but they could just be along the surface or the coastline there. Here are some other ones here. Some of them report a lot. This one reports atmospheric pressure and the date and time, and it tells you where it is, and you can go to that one as well to see that. Now, if I zoom back out, you'll see that GeoCollaborate makes a call to the server every time I change the view of the GeoCollaborate map. So I really zoomed out, and it's made all these, it's made this call, and we get more data. If I zoom in, we're only getting the data which is within my view as a leader. So if I close this menu, you'll see the data sets that are appearing there.
So Dave, let me just say here, this is a place, if you have any questions of what Dave has done so far, please don't hesitate to put that in the chat. And if any of you are following and it's not bringing up the data or it's not following, just refresh your browser. Sometimes if you have an internet hit or something, you just need to refresh it. And the nice thing is, once those data sets are loaded, they should come up on your file or once you've refreshed it and hit GeoCollaborate on.
That's great. Yeah, thanks, Ellen. And so now what we've done is we've loaded two different data sets, one from NOAA NDBC and one from NOAA through the University of Wisconsin at Madison through their Real Earth data set. The other data set I want to load here is a data set which is, I think Ellen showed it to you in her opening slide, is wildfires. So again, we can go to the web and type into Google wildfire data. You know, it can come from many different areas. You can put in any keywords you want. Wildfire data, NASA. Here's a fire map, which is with NASA. There's also a thing that they put together called FIRMS. And I think that's what this data launches. And it takes you to a web map that NASA puts together. And they identify in this web map where all the hotspots are from satellite. Now, what I want to do is I want to go down and within FIRMS is find any KML services that they have. And so I think with this particular, they have fire hotspots and things like that that you can look at. My my window over here is a little bit in the way. But what I want to do is go into, I'm going to go back here for a second and just go to their firm's web page and see what comes up here. Because I'm looking really for a KML, actually. I should type KML here. Active fire data. Here we go. So this is their firm's website, active fire data. And you see WMS, WMS-T. If you scroll down, look at all this data that shows up. They show it in shape files, Google Earth KML, or text files, CSV. So GeoCollaborate can consume CSV files or KML files. So I'm just going to do an example of, let's do the US and Hawaii. We'll do the 24-hour VIIRS 375 meter wildfires where they're showing up. So I'm going to copy this link. I'm going to go into GeoCollaborate. I'm going to add layer to cache. I'll paste this in as a KML. I will say it's a KML, say NASA firms wildfires. I'll put it in the existing group that we chose down here. Oh, my window is in the way. Hold on one second. Let me just grab this, move it over here. Okay, I'm going to put it in this group training folder and then say NASA VIIRS 375 meter wildfire. What it really is hotspot detection. Okay, so it's looking for hotspots. Doesn't mean that they're all wildfires. And then I'm going to add this layer. So it says add this layer. I'm going to click OK. And now we see, looks like the whole US is on fire, basically. But what we do is we can zoom right in closer, and we can see certain wildfires that may be of interest. Now, there's a major one, the Oak Fire, that's burning in Mariposa County right now, which shows up with a lot of fire symbols. We can get in really close, look at that. And what we're basically seeing is the fire front detected in multiple hotspots that are burning right now. you can click on any one of those symbols and it tells you what the confidence layer is of these detections. And so it says nominal. This is a huge area of hot. So they're pretty confident that that's a wildfire. Some other areas might give you low confidence based on different types of feedback. That says nominal.
Hey, Dave,
Yes.
we've got a question for you.
Okay, great. Let me
Is
take a
there a limit to the number of data sets that the leader can load?
Okay, there is not a limit to the number of data sets you can load. The only thing that you want to be careful of is how many you turn on at once. So if you load a bunch of data sets, you just want to make sure that you, as a subject matter expert, turn on the data sets as you're briefing or comparing different data types or whatnot. But no, you can load as many data sets as you want, and then you just go back into that folder and turn them on when you need them.
Probably, Dave. I mean, I know we had talked about showing a couple more data sets, but I think this has really made clear how easy it is to enter the data sets. Maybe we should move on to some of the GeoCollaborate functions.
Okay, yeah, we can do that. I guess one other last thing that I've already loaded that I just wanted to turn on was the HER smoke model. The HER smoke model is a really interesting data set in that it creates a projection of where smoke is going to be. And I'm going to go into my folder that I have that says HER smoke, and that's down here towards the bottom. And so the HER smoke model is automatically kicked off when a wildfire is picked up. And when a wildfire is picked up, I think that HER smoke model here, just hold on one sec as I find it. Down here it is, the HRRR. This is a near surface smoke product from wildfires. So this also helps to kind of identify where those big wildfires are happening. So for example, this one down here in Maricopa County is producing a lot of smoke. And this smoke, where it's purple and red, is very hard to breathe. Very hard. As a matter of fact, if you're in the purple area, this is smoke that's estimated to be 8 meters above the ground. It's recommended to have additional air tanks to help you breathe in these areas. So it's very tough to breathe in this area. So that's all I wanted to show from data sets, adding and all that sort of stuff. But then what Ellen suggested is that we just go in and show you a couple of other capabilities of GeoCollaborate. So I'm opening the menu here on the left-hand side, and we have at any time you can click the legend button. You can also click that legend button, and then whatever data sets have legends associated with them will show up. For example, here's the HER near surface smoke legend that you can see with the smoke concentrations near the ground. You can keep that open or you can close it. Down here is what's called the key points window. Now I'm going to click on that because the key points window is pretty cool. It's a way in which you can make it like a one-way bulletin board or announcement area for a collaboration session. So if I type in July 26, 2022, and I say test GeoCollaborate session, critical data sets, and you can always do a spell check. And then I'll just put the data sets that we added in bullets. So HRRR smoke model.
And the other, while Dave's doing that, the other thing
Sure.
you can do in here is that you could put links. So if you had a link to a video that you wanted people to see, or a link to a website you wanted people to see for more information or anything like that, you could put the links right in the key points.
That's right, exactly. And I'm going to do that just as an example here. I'll turn the bullets off. And then I'll say, let's just say there's a video update on, let's just say, tropics. Okay, you can make that a link. Now, what I'm going to do is you can see my screen. I'm going to go to my YouTube page, right? So Storm Center's YouTube page that has video content. And I'll just go down here to a tropical update just to get that link. And this could be anywhere, right? It can be any link. So here's a tropical storm update for Nicholas. Okay. I'm going to get a shareable link. I'm going to go back to GeoCollaborate. I will highlight the video update, give it a link. Well, now it's asking me to log in. Periodically, it will do that. Okay, I'll click the link, paste that link in there. I will make it open in a new window and set that link. So now it's a link. If I want to make that a bold, just so it shows up, I'll save it. Now, if those of you who are following are looking at your instance on the other screen or your other device, I will turn on those key points. And just as an example, I'll go to the follower here. I'll turn GeoCollaborate on. And now you see this key points window that showed up. So this is a movable window. You can put this wherever you want within the screen. And you can think about this as a constantly updated window. As soon as the leader changes the text in this window, it will update on all the followers in near real time. So you can say next briefing at 2 o'clock, we're going to have a meeting at this time or whatever, and it'll show up.
So Dave, we've got another question for you.
Okay.
So if a county or state of the state of Florida wanted to structure multiple data sets from multiple sources, they could use GeoCollaborate to prepare for things like daily emergency response briefings, right?
Yes. Yes. So, right. So if you have, that's what GeoCollaborate is designed to do. It's designed to pull in data sets that are ready to go from any trusted source, whether it's a hub, a portal, or a website, and integrate that data. We call it unification. It unifies disparate data onto a single collaborative common operating picture. So when I say collaborative common operating picture, I mean that the data gets shared immediately to everyone's device. Any participant can interrogate that data if you can click on it. And then you can all be on the same page at the same time while looking at the same data.
So Dave, that's great. What, other than the key points, what are some of the other functions that are sort of unique to GeoCollaborate?
Sure. So you've seen the key points. They can be turned on and turned off by the leader. We also have collaborative draw tools. Okay, so let's just say that we have a situation where we have this wildfire. I'll turn the HER smoke data layer off. The near surface smoke, I'll turn that off. So we see this fire with all these hotspots. Now, say I want to issue a geospatial message. So we can go into collaborative draw tools, select a shape like freehand polygon. This could be like a more high priority message. I'll make it fill in red. And I'll say need air fire suppression here ASAP. And then I can put my name and a phone number, and I'll say draw this area. So let's just say that this fire is spreading out, but we have some big sequoia trees here. we need fire suppression in this area right now. So I'm going to save this and I'll just name it fire suppression. And now that graphic layer is shared throughout all of the instances of GeoCollaborate, through anybody who's connected. And you can now click on that polygon. So now you get, I think I spelled suppression wrong, but
That's okay. You're forgiven.
so now anybody who is doing situational awareness, or they need to be up on what's going on, is aware of what's needed. You could have these messages, popping in different locations as the leader adds them. You can also hand the leadership over to another leader that has credentials. So if you have someone who's working in the fire incident, somebody who's with the Forest Service, they can hand it over to them. If you're in a training session, you can hand the leadership over to other trainers, and then they can add data sets that they've been working on as well. So again, now I'm going to switch over to the follower. This is the followers instance now, and there's that polygon, and that the followers can click on that geospatial message. That can be done with circles, with any shape. Here you can see arrows, polyline. If I wanted to do an arrow and say the fire is moving in this direction at 30 miles per hour. Take cover now. We can keep it green. We don't have to fill it. We can draw this graphic and say it's moving this direction here. And then we save that graphic. Now it's an arrow that anybody can click on and see that message.
Pretty cool.
Okay. So that's geospatial messaging. You can also,
Dave, Dave, before you move on from that,
yep.
Somebody asked, who can see your messages?
Anybody who is connected to the live collaboration session can see the message, or anybody who's connected to the dashboard. We haven't shown you the dashboard yet, but the dashboard is kind of like a static look at what's going on with GeoCollaborate, but it allows each user individually to move around the data as they want to. This is an example of the dashboard. You see all the data sets that I have loaded as a leader on the left-hand side. So the leader has total control over what data layers show up here, because you don't want to have a million data sets, right? You don't want to confuse users of the dashboard, because this is really designed to have non-technical people understand how to use this information.
So let me just clarify one thing here. So to answer the question again, just clarify. So
Sure.
During the active session, when you're in the follower and the leaders, the followers can see those messages if they click on the whatever's been drawn. After that session, or even during that session, there's the dashboard, and we'll bring that back up in a minute. A dashboard that has all those layers. You could see the message in the dashboard. Again, if it's left there, the leader could take the message away if something has changed, if situation has changed. But during the active session, the followers, after the active session, if that message is still there, then it's up on the dashboard.
That's exactly right. And this is an example of the dashboard. As you move around, you can zoom way in or way out on your own, looking at the data sets that have been added. And then you can click on these polygons, these messages that have been issued. So think about that for a second, right? I mean, you might be sitting there thinking, how can we apply this to our use cases? This can basically revolutionize how you do your communication and your data sharing as you improve situational awareness, or you want to let more people know about your data. And what we found in working with NOAA for many, many years, and NASA as well, is that while particular organizations want to talk about how valuable their data is, and their data only, it really becomes valuable when you combine it with additional data. So you can improve your situational awareness using disparate data types.
Hey, Dave, while you have the dashboard up like this,
Mhm.
you want to show the full screen, and we can just quickly. So one of the things that we also think this is really helpful for is if you're doing a media briefing, and you want it to, you're in a a nice operation center, or you're at a press briefing room, and you want to have a map behind you, you can use a dashboard in the full screen mode. You want to put that in, you can see that anything you've turned on, the leader has turned on, can
Right.
be shown in the map mode.
That's right. Yeah, thanks for that, Ellen. That's a good idea. Down here in the dashboard, there are other choices. There are other functions. One of those other functions is show full screen. So when you click that, GeoCollaborate gets rid of all the other stuff from the web browser. You can move the legend around or close it if you want to. And you can keep the key points up or not. You can move that over down to another location if you want to. But now what you have is a full screen, real-time data briefing capability where you can move the map around. You can still inquire on the data, but it's full screen. And now,
yeah.
so if you have a, I'm sorry, Alan, I was just gonna say, if you have a like a touch screen monitor, you can move this map around with your fingers.
Right. And the point here is you can put the specific data sets on, or messages on, that you want the media to see. You can turn off things you don't want them to see. And the other thing is it can be customized. Everybody asks us, well, we want it to look a little different. We want to put our logo on there. We want to have certain banners on there. It can be completely customized to look the way your organization wants. So this is just a sort of a plain example. Oh, it looks like another question. Can GeoCollaborate access crowdsourced data? Oh, that's an interesting question.
Yeah, so we have been working, one of the users of GeoCollaborate is DHS, Homeland Security, their cybersecurity and infrastructure security agency. And they have crowdsource data services from companies that spend their time 24/7 filtering out credible versus not credible reports. And those data sets can be loaded into GeoCollaborate as a service. So think about any type of social media feed, any type of crowdsourcing information, as long as it's put out as a service or maybe a KML or something like that, we can pull that into GeoCollaborate, and then you'll see them popping in on the map as they come in. So they will come in live.
We haven't shown it today, but we can also do geolocated photos or videos. We can also pull those in. I think the one other thing we wanted to specifically get to today, but yeah, again, photos or videos can be pulled in. So if you were sending somebody out in the field to take a photo of whether it was a harmful algal bloom, a fish kill, or a fire, you could very quickly, if they were geolocated, we have ways that we can get that in. I think we want to show what the population tool also.
Sure, absolutely. Cool. And that's the population extraction tool is available in the dashboard and also as a leader. I'm switching back over to the leader now on this tab, and I want to show you what that looks like. So what we've been doing, and this is a national forest, so it's probably not going to be too exciting. So I'm going to go somewhere else. Here's some population here. I'm going to click on this people icon right here on the left-hand side of GeoCollaborate. And when I click on that, it just simply says, select a shape. Do you want to have a polygon, a freehand polygon, a triangle, circle, or an ellipse? I like the freehand polygon, and then I'll click draw. So let's just say there's a fire and it's impacting, this area right in here, all the way over to LeGrand and along the county line.
Yeah, and this could be smoke. This could be if there was a hazardous incident. It could be anything, obviously.
That's right. That's right. So what I just did is I outlined a polygon what GeoCollaborate is doing right now, and it's come back with a solution already, is it's going off to the NASA Socioeconomic Data Application Center at Columbia University in New York City with the polygon definitions. And then it's just now pulled back the population in 2000, 2005, 2010, 2015, and 2020 in this area. And then there's a graph showing the breakdown of 0 to 14, 65 or older, and 15 to 64. So you get immediate demographics back from this type of query. And that can really be very beneficial for when a wildfire is moving, or, a storm is moving towards the coastline, or, if there's a red tide bloom and you want to identify how many people live along the coastline that stretches along the harmful algal bloom, you can circle that area and it will come back with that type of information. So what I'd like to do is just to pause for a second. Any one of you who are following with that link, I'll go over to the follower here. You have also received that polygon that I sent with the population data. And it happened in real time, just like it did with a follower. If you are a dashboard user, and there's an unlimited number of dashboard users, if you get GeoCollaborate, you have an unlimited number of followers, an unlimited number of dashboard users, then you can do your own population extraction, right? So you can then click the population extraction here, do the same thing, draw, excuse me, and draw this area here, and it'll do the same population type of extraction. This is based on your polygon, but it just shows you that each individual user of the dashboard can do their own extraction. And it's pretty amazing. I mean, I'm sitting here in Maryland.
Dave.
Yep.
No, sorry, hate to interrupt you again, but I know in case people are only here for an hour,
Sure.
if they have questions, now's a great time, or comments, here's a great time to, because I don't, it's hard during the day to get a lot of time. So I wanted just to say, if you have a question or comments, please put them in the chat, and we've showed in the dashboard. So Dave, maybe we should show the context now in case people do have to leave.
Sure.
Please you feel free to get in touch with us if you need more information, you have more questions, you weren't able to put your questions in. We're always happy to answer them. Again, if you can stay, that's great. We could do some more, but I just want to, in case people do have to leave, because we're coming up upon an hour, want to get you our contacts. And again, any comments or questions, please again, put them in the chat.
That sounds great. I'm just going to share that context slide. So I just have to find the Zoom window again. Here it is. There we go. Hopefully you can see the contacts.
So here's a question, Dave. If we decide to subscribe to the service, what is the level of training and service that you provide? Oh, another good one.
Yeah. So so once you get GeoCollaborate, you get a certain amount of training. I think it's like 15 hours of training, which can be done. Some can be done in person or remotely. And then you can save some of those hours for later if you want to have follow-up. And there's also an option where you can engage us with professional services. So that's simply by the hour. Some people just create a bucket of a budget to say, okay, we're gonna use this to engage you, so we can come up with use cases, we can do exercises, we can do all sorts of things. You can engage us that way as well, if that time goes beyond the training allocation.
Anything else? Well, don't forget, we're actually gonna have another training session Thursday at 10 a.m. So if you didn't get enough GeoCollaborate and you want to see it again, or if you know of others that you think might be interested, we'd love to have more people, come on and see how this works. And then again, as Dwayne mentioned earlier, we're also going to have another instance associated with our project funded by DEP, Innovations Technology, about what about creating sort of a demo virtual HAB information center for all of Florida. How could GeoCollaborate be used to look at HAB data across the state? We're going to be doing that, I believe, in September. So stay tuned. We've got lots more to come. Again, another training session Thursday at 10 a.m. and then look for that next HAB instance in September. Dave, anything else from you?
No, just you have our contact information there. Be happy to answer any emails that you send to us. And we can certainly engage you one-on-one to talk about use cases, how you might be thinking about putting GeoCollaborate to work, how it could help your data access and sharing, and also your research, maybe putting more research data to work. So I think that's it. I really appreciate the opportunity and for you signing up to take this training session, and we look forward to talking to you in the future.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, take care.